up, y'all? It's your girl, Honestly Nay, and welcome to SexualiTEA. Joining me today, I've got Shayla. Hey, Shayla.
Hi.
Tell us about you. What's up?
Okay, I never know how to answer that question. So, my name is Shayla. Shayla is Tumbling. You can find me on all my social media sites except for Twitter as Shayla D. Tumbling. I am a sexuality and emotional empowerment coach. I'm a professional Platonic cuddler. And I do lots of other things too. Retreat assistant, all that type of stuff. I'm really into like a lot of different things that have to do with pleasure and bliss and being aligned and abundance and all that type of stuff. So I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia currently. Been here for a couple of years now, but I'm originally from Mississippi, dirty South.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. That's what's up. So professional platonic touch in Atlanta. How is that going? Because you know Black people don't always like to be touched, and that's what's in it.
That is true. Well, so far since I've been here and my business partner and I like formed the company and we've introduced it to people, it's been well received, like in the circles that we've introduced it to. Actually, there's been a lot more media attention around cuddling, like and platonic cuddling in the United States over the past like 3, 4, maybe 5 years. I'll say 4 to 5 because since I moved to Atlanta a little bit before that. So people seem to be a little more open to it. There's now, maybe in the past year or so, it has been a little less like, is that a front for prostitution? A little less of that. That initially is the stuff that we got and we're like, no, it's not a front for prostitution. And people seem to be more aware of it. And we will get like, if people see articles or they see like news things about cuddling, we'll get hit up and they'll be like, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you read this? We're like, yeah, we know. But that's great that other people and they associate us with that. So that's really good. You know, we could use like the help of a marketing advertising genius. That would be awesome. That would probably help a lot of things too, because my partner, her background is in nursing and holistic care, and mine is in like psychotherapy, counseling, psychology. So like the whole business piece, because neither one of us have that like naturally, it makes it a little more challenging. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of personal connections and referrals and things like that. But overall, like growing in the way I envision it, like a business, that has been a little challenging just because some of those things are areas of not my zone of genius. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But the reception from most people that we meet when they hear about it, they're like interested, they want to know more. So that's always good. And we go to events and sometimes we volunteer our services at healing events. You know, it's really well received when people are like, oh, yeah, you'll come set up a booth or you'll do like a station. Like, yeah, that would be awesome. We would love that. That would be really great. So that always makes me feel good that people are aware of the importance, are really open to learning more about the importance of like platonic touch.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you said that your background is in like psychotherapy and like counseling. So are you doing like counseling and services and stuff down in Atlanta as well, or?
So I have taken all of that wonderful training that I received in all those years of school, and I've used that to push myself into the coaching arena. So I market myself and do coaching, like individual or group coaching with clients. So that's what I do. In my regular, like everyday, like 9 to 5 world, I am looking at being in the counseling arena, but I don't really adhere well to like traditional, kind of traditional settings, all types of settings in like the counseling field, mental health. So inpatient psychiatric hospitals, like long-term hospitals, private practices, college campuses, like independent behavioral health clinics, all types of things. And yeah, sometimes working in a more traditional setting, there is a more limitation. And because my area of interest and passion is around sexuality, there's not really a lot of that is done in a way, I fall more in the sex positive camp.
Yeah.
So a lot of times sexuality in like some areas is not always viewed sex positive. It comes more of the medical model, and the medical model views things kind of like a problem based or disease based, or whatever they like to term that. So and sexuality is also still something, unfortunately, even though there's a whole segment of sexuality, it's still something that people are not super open about. So that makes it a little challenging too. It's still viewed as like taboo. So I know a lot of wonderful sex educators. I'm in like really awesome groups with women who are doing sex education. And even though that seems to be like what I'm surrounded with, when we step outside of that, it's like, oh, people are still like, oh, sex? Oh, we don't talk about that. Or, just all those things. So all that to say, like, I haven't found the perfect job, like somewhere out there in the traditional field that does the type of work I would want to do in sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
So no, right now I'm not doing any traditional like counseling and psychotherapy, even though I'm open to working with people in those areas. Not doing that at this current moment. Yeah.
Well, then they say if you can't find the job you want, you gotta make it. So I'm just trying to get this degree and put these building blocks together, trying to make me a role in this here world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. That's cool. So did you try to take like looking for those open spaces where you could find that holistic approach? Is that kind of what led you to doing the professional cuddling, the professional platonic touch?
Oh, so my journey into cuddling, we were having a conversation kind of around one of my life philosophies before we hopped on to the interview. And I was just talking about how when I hear things, and for me, the magic number is 3. Mm-hmm. Then I feel like I'm receiving a message from somewhere, and that's a message I need to take heed to. So I first heard about cuddling, where was I? I was probably living in Nashville in my last program. I was in a doctorate program for counseling psychology. So I think I was in Nashville, and I was in one of my groups on Facebook that dealt with relationships and sexuality. And someone mentioned, oh, there's this lady who does cuddling. It's like, oh, cuddling, like, what's that? So I looked her up. It was like, oh, this is really interesting. Didn't think anything else about it. I moved to Seattle shortly after Nashville to work on an internship while I was in that program. And the lady, she was based in Portland, Oregon. I wanted to try to connect with her while I was in Seattle, but I didn't get a chance to. And then I moved back to Nashville because I needed to do like some more work with my program. I had to leave Seattle, move back to Nashville, and I was trying to do some work with my program and recalibrate some things so I could go to New York to finish my internship and so I could graduate. In the process of all of that, like financially, things were a challenge with me regarding school. I was having a challenge finding a placement that my program would approve of, because that's like a thing for internship, because my program was an APA accredited program. So there's certain like guidelines that they have to meet, and they have to give special permission if you want to do something outside of that. And so I was trying to complete internship so I could graduate, because it had been like a really long process. A lot of things were going on. I just like psychologically, emotionally, financially was just like tapped out. And I have a mentor who is based in New York who I've done trauma outreach work with before. She does international trauma outreach work. So I go with her to Haiti and do work down there. And trauma is another one of my areas that I'm really interested in. So I've been looking at intergenerational trauma, looking at identity of Blackness, looking at how that impacts our sexuality. So that's like my own little area I've been working on crafting and creating, just like out of that work. So anyway, I was trying to get to New York to finish my internship, create an internship and finish with her. And I wasn't able to like do anything with school. Like I was out of student loans. My family does not have, funds to help me pay for school.
Stop reading my life. Stop it.
It was like super grad program, so that's super hella expensive. I was out of state student, so that's hella expensive. It was just like a lot of stuff, and I was like hanging on. I've been in this program for 4 years, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm at the finish line. I just have to finish this internship and finish this dissertation, and I'm good." So I, at the time, was dating someone who lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and a friend of mine was like, "Maybe you should." Oh, so the cuddling thing came up again. I was looking, I was like, how can I go to New York? Because this is going to be an unpaid internship. Like my mentor, she's not an official site, so she doesn't have funding to pay someone. So it's like, I got to move to New York. I'm going to have to work full time as an intern. So that's for free. Full time for free, 40 hours in New York, which is hella expensive. And I still have to like survive. So it's like, I need to start my own business, something I can work on my own time. And I can bring money in, I can support myself, and I can do this like a lot. So the cuddling thing came up again. It came up twice more. I was like online and someone shared an article from someone else and then something else. And this came up over the time, I think, between me leaving Seattle and coming back down. So that was number 3 for me. And 3 is my magic number. So when that came up, I was like, let me look into this. So I'm doing the research and I'm looking at these people. There's some ladies in New York who've been doing it a few years, a lady in Seattle who's been doing it. And it's like, yeah, we're professional cuddlers and we do this service and, you know, it's really great. And some of them have backgrounds in like psychology or social work or somewhat in the mental health, like helping field also. Some of the ladies have that I've like researched. And just seeing like how that came out of their work. And then I was like, well, I love cuddling. Like I love cuddling with people. Like I've always had a cuddle buddy, like no matter where I live. And I never thought about it like that before. But I was like, you know what? This is a service I could definitely offer people. And I can infuse my specialized training in like mental health and counseling in that too. So that'll be great. And I can do it on my own time. It'll be my own business. And so this is definitely a service I can offer and it will be well received and it'll, you know, help me to continue like my work and finishing this degree too. So like 2 birds in 1 stone. So that's how I got started with it. I moved to Atlanta because a friend suggested that maybe Atlanta would be a bit more progressive than Nashville. And I was like, okay, cool. And I had a partner at the time that lived here. I was like, yo, can I come stay with you like for a couple of weeks? Because I want to start this business and go to New York. A couple of weeks has turned into like 3 years. I don't stay with her. But that tells you about my business, right? I told you like the business thing, I have great ideas, but like the business logistics and stuff, that's like not my area, not my zone of genius. I'm in Atlanta, but I can
Right, you're in Atlanta and you got some business chops. You need up because she looking.
Yeah, so in Atlanta. So that's how I got started on the journey of cuddling. And then when I connected with my business partner, I met her here and she had the idea of doing like a companionship-based service. And so offering services to people, maybe elderly people and or other people who might not be elderly, but they just don't have people in their lives to help them do like certain things. So she had all these great services she was already working on around that. I had the cuddling piece and we decided to combine it. So we started a cuddling and companionship business. So it was birthed fully here in the form that it is now. And that's how I got started on that journey. So, and recognizing the more we've done research around it and just our own personal experiences with people, knowing that it's a service people really need, and trying to do our best to educate people about it and to let them understand that, you know, it's not a sexual service. Mm-hmm. It's something that will help to improve your life. We all need touch. Most of us are not receiving the touch that we need on a daily basis, and that's impacting our emotional or our mental health. But that's not something people are talking about yet because scientists haven't discovered that, you know. So, but yeah, one day there will be articles or more articles and stuff, and people will be like, oh, yeah, we need cuddlers because that's really important, you know, but definitely. Mm-hmm.
You're just ahead of the curve. You just got to wait for everybody else to catch up, right?
Yeah.
So I heard that you talked a lot about how like you like working in trauma and how you deal in trauma. That is one of my passion projects too. Is I like working in trauma, and I feel like I do really well working with survivors of domestic violence, sexual trauma, and like kind of unfortunately, it's a lot of women in particular. It does happen to men. That's a lot of women that I see like on a daily basis. So tell me about like how did you get into the whole trauma kind of bubble?
So, oh wow, that's good too. So when I was in my I'm trying to think of the most succinct way because that can be very wordy. So I believe I'm always guided and receive signals kind of about my path. So that's kind of how my whole educational career and my areas of interest have unfolded. So sexuality was always something I was interested in. Then in undergrad, I took a course and I was like, oh, this is really awesome. Then in my master's program, I had the amazing experience of having a new dean head of our department who came in, and he just so happened to have over 30 years in the sex field. He had worked with Masters and Johnson. He'd done like all this research. He had all these experiences, and he did like survey courses for us. And it was just amazing, all the stuff that I learned. And that solidified for me right there. I said, oh, sexuality is going to be one of my specialties, because it is an area of our lives that people are mostly disconnected from, but it's so important. And there's so much dysfunction that exists when we don't talk about it and don't figure out ways to like manage it and be like in balance with it. So I was like, that's definitely something I have to incorporate into what I do. So the trauma piece came a couple years later when I moved into my doctorate program. And I don't know how I found this book, but I went to my school was Tennessee State University, so it's HBCU. Mm-hmm. And somehow I came across the book, or someone introduced me to the book, or in research, but Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy Leary. And I read that book, and so much stuff just clicked for me. I was like, wait a minute, what? Okay, yeah, this totally makes sense. All these things that have happened past for people of African descent have probably been impacting the way that we are functioning currently in today's time. And when people say all the different things they want to say, I feel like a part of the reason that I am here in this day and time as a Black woman is because there are things that I am supposed to be a part of as the process of healing for like Blackness and for like being a woman. So I feel like my identity in which I exist in is not a coincidence. I feel like it's very much intentional, you know, and whatever you believe that we choose to come into these bodies in this lifetime. If you believe that, you know, God placed us here, whatever, I don't feel this was an accident. So I feel like all these aspects of my identity are very intentional. And so for me, that's a major part of my purpose. If I identify myself as a healer, I recognize that I'm a healer, then in my own work and walk and journey in healing parts of myself and being like really aligned and just fully like in all of the awesomeness of who I am, you know, however I came to exist, then that is going to help other people who have similar identities to me to be able to do the same and know that they can be fully aligned and like really in their bliss, because I think that's our birthright, right? So I read that book, and that just like really solidified things for me even more. It was like, okay, sexuality is definitely a piece. Blackness is definitely a piece. Ancestral historical trauma, I just resonated with that. And I connected with my mentor. She's an Armenian woman. So she has a whole background in like trauma and her experience with that. And she started this nonprofit like over 20 something years ago. And she's been doing trauma outreach work all over the world. She goes to places where there have been either man-made traumatic incidences like genocide, civil wars, those types of things, or where there are natural disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, those types of things. And she's a psychologist. So her background and all the work is around psychological and emotional healing regarding or related to trauma. So I connected with her. This is really funny. I was looking for a mentor. I've always been looking for mentors, and I was on one of our professional sites, APA, and someone sent out a call. They said, hey, we're looking to pair professionals in the field with students, you know. So she was like kind of like over that whole committee, and I emailed some my information in, and it was like weeks had gone by or something, and she hit me back up and she said, so I haven't found anyone to pair you with yet. No one's reached out, or we haven't found a match for you. She was like, if you're interested, why don't you go check out my website and see what I do? And if you're interested, then I'll be your mentor. So I went to her website. She travels internationally. She does holistic healing work. Like she's created this whole holistic model, a 7-step model of healing around trauma. And yeah, I was like, you do what I want to do. You travel the world and you help people heal. Like, yes, like this is perfect. Like no coincidence whatsoever. I don't really believe in coincidences either. Mm-hmm. That's another one of my philosophies. So I connected with her, and then going through her training and being certified to be an ambassador for her program, Meaningful World, I started going with her to Haiti. She went to Haiti immediately after the earthquake in 2010. Mm-hmm. But I didn't connect with her till like the next year, maybe 2011, I think was when we connected. But she was down there, like she had a team down there 3 months after the earthquake happened. But she's been going back every summer since then. Like that first year they went a few more times throughout the year. And after that, they've been going like every summer. So I started with them 2011 or 2012 and have gone like every summer except for this summer and the past summer, because it's also a volunteer. It's a volunteer trip, so I have to raise money to go. So sometimes I'm able to raise the funds to go, and sometimes it just has been like more of a challenge for me to be able to raise the funds to be able to go down there. So I wasn't able to go these past 2 years, but I plan on going back again next year, because I really feel like Haiti is part of my home now, and I definitely want to be down there and continue to do the work around like the psychological and emotional healing. So
nice.
yeah.
I was watching Law and Order, and they just stopped like this whole like Haitian slave trade ring.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like all these white people were adopting these white babies from Haiti and was making them like they slaves, they house workers, making them cook, man, clean, like beating the crap out of them. And they were like justifying them coming to America and getting the crap kicked out of them because in Haiti they were living in squalor and they had no food. And I was like, if you won't go away. And it was also Law and Order, so everything wrapped up in 60 minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's just like but that's really cool that you get to go over there and do that kind of help and that kind of work. I've definitely been looking for something like abroad that I can go do because I love to travel. I'm getting ready to go to Jamaica in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But I would love to be able to go out and be able to provide that help and be that relief and just, still be able to like walk in your path and in your presence and provide those services that have been bestowed upon you to provide. That's really, really dope. Dope. All right. So then kind of, I know like for me personally, sometimes when I work in my trauma fields, as a woman, as a queer woman of color in general, just our existence, our history is kind of just dipped in trauma, and that I feel like that's kind of one of the main reasons that I feel like I do so well in trauma. Do you think a lot of that ancestral, that generational, that post-traumatic slave disorder is something that kind of makes it not an easy field to walk in, but a field where it's like I feel comfortable combating this enough to be able to go out and provide that help and that research?
My first, yes, that's my first like gut reaction is yes. And I feel like it's because like we don't really have a choice. Like we live this every day. Mm-hmm. So we live or we're reliving or we're triggered by the trauma every day. And it's complex, the trauma that I feel like we're experiencing. And I don't believe that. I believe everybody's traumatized, just all of us. I just choose to focus on particularly like Blackness and Black women. That's at the core of most of my work. I do work, I work with anyone who resonates with my work. And I've had clients who are not Black, who are not women, who resonate with my work, and that's fine. At the core, I feel a part of the message that I'm here to share, or the walk I'm here to do with people, is like around that. Like, again, because those are like the identities that I hold. So I feel like it's not something that we can avoid. And so when I was saying like the complex part, it's like we got everyday stuff that's going on, and most of us are trying to live in the present, but then the past impacts us so greatly that we don't even realize a lot of us are running on past programming that's impacting our present, which is going to impact our future. And we're like in this crazy cycle. So even if it's just coming in and bringing awareness, but we don't really have a choice in that. Like we don't have a choice in it. So it exists. So it's not like we can not be moving in it. We can not be aware of it, but we're always moving in it. We're always like living it or reliving it or seeing it manifest in our lives in some way. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the stuff that is unhealed. The stuff that's unhealed, because I know the past impacts us, even if you just think about your immediate past. So I've been on this earth 35 years, right? So my immediate past would just be like with my mother and my father and my family, right? So I think about the things that have happened in my life that have shaped me to be who I am and where I am today. This is not even when I think about ancestral stuff, but this is just, this part. And that past stuff affects me, you know, like my relationship or non-relationship with my father, the relationship I have with my mother, my relationship with my family and my friends, and all those things that have shaped and crafted me to being the woman I am right now in this moment. Those definitely impact me. So thinking about that has impacted my mother and has impacted my grandmother, impacted her mother, you know, and those things, it's just continuous. So yeah, so like when you asked that question, it did make me think like, yeah, and I don't feel like we really have a choice but to, we're always in this work and always doing this work, even if we're not aware that we're doing the work. And so I guess for me, it's I just happen to be blessed to walk into a space of awareness, so I can be very intentional about like deconstructing and then working to create a better life for myself, and hopefully like sharing tools with other people so they can do the same, or even if it's just by seeing my life as an example and then asking me, you know, how did you get where you are? Oh, I'm a poor girl from Mississippi, or I grew up poor in Mississippi, or like whatever, and this is how I got to this place, and then I can share, you know, like the journey and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think it's, yes, my answer to your question is yes.
All right.
I get really wordy, so.
I think that you use just enough words. I am okay with the number of words that you use. All right. Well, that seems like a pretty good place for us to be able to stop. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey and your passion and getting some Black girl magic on. That's always fun to do, of course. All right. So tell us one more time, where can we find you if we want to contact you, if we want your services, all that jazz?
Okay, awesome. So you can find me on Facebook at Shayla D Tumbling. D is in doll. You can find me on Instagram as Shayla D Tumbling. And you can find me on Twitter at Black BLK Sex Catalyst. You'll be more prone to find me though on Facebook and on Instagram. And my website is, my name is ShaylaDtumbling.com. So try to make that very simple. So Shayla, Shayla, D as in doll, tumbling as in like gymnastics tumbling. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll definitely be keeping an eye out for you. Yo, if you're in Atlanta and you need a job and you do some business, some marketing, some strategizing, hit up Shayla at one of her places because she would appreciate you. All right, and we will talk to y'all later. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I'm honestly Nay. This is SexualiTEA, and I'll check y'all again later. Bye.
Bye.